Samba firewall. What ports does Samba use for firewall? A Samba firewall refers to the network security measures, specifically firewall configurations, used to control and protect Samba services. Samba allows Linux/Unix systems to share files and printers with Windows clients using the SMB/CIFS protocol, but improperly configured Samba servers can expose a network to unauthorized access or attacks. A firewall helps secure Samba by controlling which IP addresses, devices, or networks can access the Samba services. Key aspects of Samba firewall configuration: 1. Network ports used by Samba *. Samba operates over specific network ports that need to be open for communication between clients and the Samba server. The most important ports for Samba are Port 137, UDP used for NetBIOS name service, which helps clients find the Samba server by name on the network. Port 138, UDP used for NetBIOS datagram services. Port 139, TCP used for SMB traffic over NetBIOS. Port 445, TCP used for direct SMB communication without NetBIOS. When configuring your firewall, you need to decide whether to open these ports to the network, depending on your security needs. 2. Firewall tools in Linux *. Common firewall tools used in Linux to control network access to Samba services include iftables *, a widely used command line firewall tool that can filter traffic based on IP addresses, ports, and protocols. Firewall *, a modern, dynamic firewall tool often used on Red Hat-based distributions, example CentOS, Fedora, that allows easier management of firewall rules. UFW, uncomplicated firewall, a simpler interface for managing firewall rules, commonly used on Ubuntu-based systems. 3. Firewall configuration to allow Samba *. To allow Samba to function, the firewall must be configured to permit access to the port Samba uses, but only from trusted networks or IP addresses. For example, allowing Samba ports with iftables * sudo iftables a input PTCP port 139J accept sudo iftables a input PTCP port 445J accept sudo iftables a input PUDP port 137J accept sudo iftables a input PUDP port 138J accept, allowing Samba in firewall * sudo firewall cmd permanent zone equals public ad service equals Samba sudo firewall cmd reload, allowing Samba ports. In UFW ** sudo UFO allow from 192.168.1.0/24 to any port 137,138 proto UDP sudo UFO allow from 192.168.1.0/24 to any port 139,445 proto TCP. The example above allows traffic only from a trusted network, 192.168.1.0/24. Adjust the IP ranges to match your network configuration. 4. Restricting access to trusted networks *. One of the best practices for securing Samba is to restrict access to known, trusted networks. Instead of allowing Samba access to all external IP addresses, you can configure the firewall to permit only specific subnets or IP ranges that are trusted. For example, only allow access from internal, private IP ranges, example 192.168.x.x or 10.x.x.x. Block external, public internet, access to Samba. 5. Preventing unauthorized access *. A key goal of a firewall is to prevent unauthorized users from accessing Samba services. By default, all external connections should be blocked unless explicitly allowed. The firewall should reject or drop any traffic that tries to access Samba from untrusted or public networks. 6. Logging and monitoring *. Enabling logging in your firewall helps detect and analyze unauthorized attempts to access Samba. For example, iftables can be configured to log drop packets or suspicious traffic. Monitoring logs helps identify potential attack patterns or misconfigurations in firewall rules. 7. Disabling unused services *. If your Samba server only requires file sharing, port 445, and not NetBIOS services, ports 137 to 139, you can block or disable the NetBIOS ports in your firewall to reduce the attack surface. For example, block NetBIOS services, bash sudo iftables a input PUDP port 137J drop sudo iftables a input PUDP port 138J drop sudo iftables a input PTCP port 139J drop a. Secure access over VPN or encrypted channels *. If Samba services need to be accessed over the internet or a wide area network, 1. It is highly recommended to set up a VPN, virtual private network, or use encrypted channels to secure the communication. In this case, only VPN traffic should be allowed to reach Samba services, and direct public access should be blocked at the firewall. Best practices for configuring a firewall with Samba: minimize exposure *. Only open Samba ports, 139 and 445, to networks and IP addresses that absolutely need access. Close these ports to the public internet unless encrypted tunnels like VPNs are used. Enable logging *, always log attempts to access Samba services to detect unauthorized access. Keep Samba and firewall updated *, regular updates to both Samba and your firewall software will help patch security vulnerabilities. Use encrypted connections * if your network requires external access to Samba services, enforce SMB encryption or use a VPN to secure the connection. In summary, configuring a firewall to protect Samba is a critical part of securing your file sharing services. By carefully controlling access to Samba's ports and limiting exposure to trusted networks, you can greatly reduce the risk of unauthorized access or exploitation.